Joining me now is Fiona Scott, former Liberal MP and now Premier State Consultant, and Ben Oquist, Executive Director at the Australia Institute. Ben, first to you. Should Anthony Albanese be more definitive in terms of his response to this? Maybe undertake an independent inquiry, as Kimberley Kitching's friend Michael Danby's been calling for?
Well, it's a tragedy, isn't it? Kimberley Kitching went too young, and she had a great career ahead of her in the Senate. I'm looking forward to the Senate's being brought back a day early on Monday for condolences, so they've got time to do that separate from the budget. I think that's a good plan and a good idea. So, to tell you the truth, I'm looking forward to hearing more about Kimberley and her life and her contribution, and by implications what she could have added further. When it comes to inquiry, it's a bit hard. I heard Anthony Albanese say that no formal complaint was made, and the tragedy is that Kimberley is no longer with us to prosecute what did or didn't happen. So I think I want to focus on celebrating Kimberley's life and hearing a bit more about it.
Fiona Scott, Richard Marles was asked about it today. He's confirmed that the late senator never raised a bullying complaint with him, despite suggestions in recent days that she might have done so. Mr Marles making these comments just in the last hour or so, saying, no, that did not happen, Fiona.
Yeah, look, there's been various things said over the last couple of weeks about this issue, Kieran. And, you know, even the remarks by Kimberley's husband to say about the cantankerous cabal and the pressure that his wife was under, that the staff were concerned about behaviour that they had seen and they could feel that way if they liked. I think if people want to be the Prime Minister, if Anthony Albanese wants to be the Prime Minister, whether Kimberley Kitching made a formal complaint down a formal process, there are people who knew her, who worked close with her, who feel that things weren't necessarily handled right. If this is the party of the Labor movement, this is the party that protects workplaces, this is the party that is supposed to do those things, surely they should be the party that steps forward to actually look into these matters, whether a formal bullying complaint was made in a specific way that Anthony Albanese believes or anything else. We are going into an election right now to determine who will be the Prime Minister of our country. And if Anthony Albanese wants to say that I am the right man for that job, then he needs to show us. He needs to show us what that is, and he actually needs to, for once and for all, have an open, transparent process in this. And I think that, and one that is respectful to Kimberley, her life, her family, her loved ones, and the people that worked with her.
Yeah, it's a fair point, absolutely, to deal with it and then to focus where he wants the focus to be, Ben Oquist. Something tells me with the budget looming and the election campaign, things will, get to that point regardless. But it does sound like a much cleaner approach that Fiona talks about. But Ben, when you look at the budget, cost of living is the potent issue right now. There's no doubt about it.
It is, and everybody's talking about what the government's going to do with the cost of living. You've got to feel sorry for the Treasurer, don't you? Because you just have this feeling that terrible policy decisions are going to be made. Reports this morning that the government is going to cut fuel excise or pause the indexation. We're still living with the damage done, of course, by the indexation pause that was put in 2001 that cumulatively cost the budget between when it started and when it ended of almost $6 billion, and it still is costing us, because we never caught up with that indexation, it's still probably costing us $1 billion, $1.5 billion every year. So if they do pause the indexation, that's long-term damage to the budget. Then there's the talk of cutting beer excise. I mean, really, if you want to support the hospitality industry, surely there are better ways of doing that than giving the brewers a tax break. I mean, there are reports this morning that they've got to do something about cost of living, partly because the Prime Minister got caught out on not knowing the price of milk. Now, fair enough question from Andrew Clennell, but really, is that where policy making in Australia has got today? Because the Prime Minister doesn't know the price of milk, we cut excise and cost the budget billions of dollars. We should have done something about EV policy in Australia so that we had more EV cars, so we're getting off fuel dependency. The opposite has happened. I'm in a state of despair about economic policy making in Australia.
Ben and Fiona, my apologies. I have to interrupt, and we'll chat to you both soon and over the coming week about the budget.
The bottom 20% get nothing. They're really unfair tax cuts.
People want to see much stronger action from the government when it comes to climate change. It's no coincidence that we have a wages crisis in Australia.
Transitioning to net zero emissions, it doesn't seem like there's much room for gas.